I'd like to show you today is how we have used Abacus in a situation where the customer locations are truly geo-specific. In other words, targeting households that actually have a septic tank in their garden. Before I talk about that, just a little bit about Bio-Gard. We started trading, launched the company in April 2014. We had spent a winter undertaking research. We'd managed to acquire a database of septic tank locations, weren't opted in, opted out. The addresses were basically untouchable as far as data protection is concerned, but we did have something of a research tool there. The first thing we did was to undertake an acorn analysis so we could see what types of socio-geodemographic groups tended to own septic tanks. Unsurprisingly, they were virtually all in ultra-rural areas. The product, and we are virtually a single product company that Bio-Gard sell, is something called Muck Munchers, the 12-month treatment program for septic tanks. And I can see sheer excitement around the room. But there are some 800,000 septic tank owners in the UK. And so it's a little bit more than a niche market. It must be interested. Do we have any people in the room that has a septic tank or whose parents have a septic tank? A few. Yeah, well, it reflects something like 2.5% of households in the UK. We're slowly edging towards our 1 million turnover. We have 18,000 active customers. And we were delighted when we won Direct Commerce of the Year for companies under £5 million back in the spring. Now, our objective, as you can imagine, as a startup, well, hey, let's move on. Sorry about that. Okay. As you can imagine, our objective as a startup is, and always is, to expand sales. When you've got no customers, there's nowhere else to go. And in those early days, we focused on off-the-page advertising. People thought we were mad. You're going to have a product the size of a tea bag. You're going to flush it down the toilet once a month. And you're going to do what? You're going to sell it off the page? Well, we started in some country affinity magazines, selling from full pages. By the summer, we'd managed to go through £120,000 worth of media expenditure, taking quarter pages and the likes of the Telegraph, half pages in the Times, Daily Mail, Sunday Telegraph, you name it. And we'd also moved on with door-to-door and magazine inserts. And when it came to inserts, the acorn analysis was particularly valuable. Because what we were able to do was to take that acorn profile, overlay it on the Royal Mail postcode database, at postcode sector level, the smallest component that you can buy from door to door, and we could then overlay the septic tank locations onto those postcode sectors too, and build ourselves a rank index model to try and determine the propensity for purchase within each postcode sector. We've tested that in 2014. We've been rolling it out. We've distributed well in excess of 1.5 million door-to-door drops now. PPC and SEO was a complete disaster. And the simple reason was, and is, that people don't know about our product. They're not searching for a biological septic tank cleaner. So, AdWords was going to prove a disaster. We'd got a single product offer. We wanted to test direct mail. We knew where people were in terms of postcodes. We had a database of 10,000 customers and 50,000 prospect postcodes too. So that's the point at which we handed over to Abacus. But what we had just prior to doing that was a eureka moment, and that was, if there is one septic tank in a postcode, there's a 95, maybe 100% chance that every house in that postcode has a septic tank. Eureka, overnight, we realised that we could multiply our prospect base by 25-fold, and that was then the challenge for you, Mark.
Thanks, Martin. So we used a geo-mapping tool, taking the existing Bio-Gard database, looking at the postcodes where there were existing septic tanks, and then creating drive time radiuses from those postcodes to identify areas of the UK where there was a high propensity to have a septic tank. So we use this as a pre-select on our models, and as many of you will know, our models are built profiling existing customers to find individuals who look most like your existing customer base, and that uses all of the activity we have in the Alliance across our 500 plus brands. So just to sort of give you a quick visual on that, we've obviously got the Abacus Alliance, so this is 18 million households, 26 million individuals. It's a very large database, too big to sort of build a model on, so we want to sort of target down into that. So we start by overlaying our geographic overlays, so those postcodes, I think 50,000 postcodes we'd identified as relevant to Bio-Gard. And then we create our modelling universe within that. So we apply some other pre-selects. So that's looking at people who've had a transaction in the last 18 months, maybe some pre-selects around gender, recency, frequency, and value of spend. And within our modelling universe, we've obviously got our responders and our non-responders. So our responders are the people who already exist on the Bio-Gard database. So we use these individuals to create our responder group to profile. And we'd identify who those buyers are by looking at maybe most recent buyers, multi-buyers, seasonal buyers. And it's these that we profile to create our model. So the model universe is scored from best to worst, and we then segment the model. So a segment size is a set really depending on the client objective. If you're looking to grow volumes very quickly, we may want to set those segments quite large. If you're sort of taking your first steps into DM, we might want to set those a bit smaller. So those can range from 25,000 to 50,000 to 100,000. And the process is you will test samples from each of the segments, maybe the top of the model, segments 1 to 3. And you'd know then by mailing a sample of that segment that the performance would be indicative of how the whole segment would perform. And that allows you to build volume for future rollout. And you can do this across multiple models to really build your strategy going forward.
Okay, so it was exactly 1 year yesterday when we dropped our first test mailing, a classic direct marketing piece, important news, signposting, and save hundreds of pounds on septic tank pump-ups. So, that was late in the season, it was October, but that 10,000 test produced more than break-even cash flow. And that's the only thing we ask of ourselves at Bio-Gard, that we produce cash. We're a startup company, we can't afford and don't want to invest substantial amounts of money. But since that test, this year, we've rolled out, we've validated, we've looked at other test programs, and from that small beginning, we mailed 165,000 mailings to date so far this year. The spend for a small company just on our Abacus activity was £62,000. It's been profitable. Well, I've lost my notes here. So what does it all mean? Well, our initial mailings generated some 22% ROI. For every £1 we spent, we got 22 pence back in cash. We have a forecast lifetime value over a 4 or 5 year period where every new customer we recruit generates around about £28. So it's proven to be a very profitable business for us. What it actually means, of those 800,000 septic tank owners out there, if we can get 10% of them as customers, and we already have 2.5%, then my partner Joseph and I are going to wonder what to do with the £400,000 to £500,000 a year. Thank you very much indeed.